Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second speaker series with the Black Achievers Alliance. I'm Sarah Henry, the City of Alameda's Public Information Officer. Joining us today is our host, Robbie Wilson, and her special guest, Christopher Chapman. Please note, all participants have been muted. At any time, you can submit a question for any of our speakers using the chat feature. I'd now like to turn today's speaker series over to Robbie Wilson.
Thank you, Sarah Henry, as always, a great partner to the City of Alameda and always there for us. And, you know, today is really an exciting for Alameda Unified School District. It's a great honor for me just to be able to welcome Christopher Chapman and his team as they bring an incredible tool for Alameda. So, like I was saying, you know, I sit here with this exciting topic today of kingmakers and how our young Black males definitely need this. This has been something that's been on my heart for a very, very long time. Anyone knows me, I've been doing this fight for a very long time. And so it's exciting that this topic is actually has a space today to speak and also to just bring it to our young males here on the island and also hopefully soon our young queens as well. I sit here just reflecting on what a loss we had as a community, as a Black community yesterday, and Chadwick Boseman. I know for a lot of my youth, especially my little Black young males, they really look to him as a king, as, you know, we think of Wakanda as maybe this fairy tale place that maybe doesn't exist. For a lot of my youth, and not just the Black youth, you know, the Latinx youth, Filipino youth, that whole idea of what that represented in that movie, you know, represented a strength, a hope, a knowing that we are kings, we are queens. No matter what circumstances, we as Black people, I say indigenous people, we still achieve. And I think this is why we, you know, this vision came to be many years ago now to even come up with Black Achievers Alliance, because there was so much talk about crime, about negative things about Blacks. And so it was an opportunity to really bring truth to the conversation that we do achieve. And so today with Kingsmaker, this is going to be a tool that I'm really trusting that is going to be able to bring that hope, bring tools, and really bring an empowerment to Black males, to the Black community, to the whole community. Because my belief is when you empower one group of folks, you really empower all. And so it's time to, you know, we talk about a division, it's time to really, I always say, unite. And so this conversation is about, I'm glad to see allies here. I'm always glad to see allies here, because the truth is in Alameda, we cannot do this work without allies in order to make it to sustain. And so I'm glad to see so many familiar faces, some new ones, to be a part of this conversation. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and introduce, most of you probably know, but President of the School Board, Mia Banta, and she has some words to say, and then we're going to go on into the discussion today, because I want to leave enough time for the Kingmakers to speak and share what they're bringing. So Mia Banta, please.
Thank you so much, Robbie Wilson. Good afternoon. I'm so excited to be participating in this amazing event. Before we begin, I have an important message which I offer on behalf of the Board of Education in our school district. Over the last several weeks and months, the school district entered into an engagement to support and sponsor in partnership the Black Achievers Alliance and this speaker series. And we're delighted to do so because I think it really gives us an opportunity to be able to center Black voice and raise Black voice. We have somebody who needs, my apologies, but there's an Ashley Peterson who needs to be, thank you. When the district made the decision to sponsor this, there was one speaker at this evening's event, Mr. John Castleberry, who is an author and a community member that is now participating at that time prior to his involvement in a school board election. Mr. Castleberry, as a candidate for school board, we need to make clear that he is someone who is joining the event in his capacity as a community member, and in no way is this district sponsoring or supporting or endorsing this candidate. The Board of Education and district do not endorse any candidates. That said, and in the spirit of fairness, I share that there are several candidates running for school board including Jennifer Williams, currently on the school board, Heather Little, Verna Castro, Beth Aney, Megan Sweet, and Leland Tremin. And with that, it is my pleasure to allow this wonderful event to continue on. And so thank you, so grateful, Mr. Chapman, whose work I've admired for many years in terms of really supporting and lifting our kings and queens. And so welcome for today.
Thank you. Can I do something? I forgot one thing. Thank you, Mia Bonta, for that. Sarah Henry, did you upload the video?
Yes.
I would like, because this is, I'm sitting here and it keeps rolling on my mind, the loss yesterday. And I do want to pay tribute to an individual Black male that was an inspiration to so many. And I don't want to lose sight of that as we talk about Kingsmaker. And so Sarah has a video she's going to share. And I just ask, whatever is your tradition, just offer a moment of silence for the passing of Chadwick Boseman today.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, oh. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. For all I am, for all I'm feeling, I will be true and I will sing. Yeah. Gave away my pain and all their chains, 'cause I'm no slave, yeah, for I am all I am. My ancestors tell me so. My blood, it tells me so. My being tells me so. For all I am, for all my ancestors tell me so. My blood, it tells me so. My being, it tells me so. For all I am, my ancestors tell me so. My blood, it tells me so. My being, it tells me so. For all I am, for all I am. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Ashel Ho. I turn it over to Christopher.
Thank you, Ms. Robbie. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, community. Powerful video on multiple levels. Honored to be in your presence today virtually. My name is Chris Chapman. I am the president and CEO of Kingmakers of Oakland and have been in public school education really since I was a child. And so I'm here today to talk about our framework, healing the fish while treating the toxic ecosystem. But before I get into the formal conversation, what I'd like to do is definitely acknowledge and give the opportunity for the kings and queens that are going to be leading in the classroom the work here in Alameda. So I'd like to start off with Brother Michael Waller. If you can introduce yourself and then call on one of the other Alameda facilitators just to get everybody in the space, and then I'll move forward with my formal presentation. So Brother Michael.
Thank you, good sir. Appreciate the influence that you have on me and our community. My name is Michael Waller. I am a family liaison here at Alameda Unified, and we'll be working at Wood Middle School as well as some of the other schools here in the district, and then also working with Sarah to build this program out in Alameda. Next up, I'll call on Miss Michaela.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I'm the parent liaison at Love Elementary School. And I'm just really excited. I'll be working with Sarah as well. I'm just happy to have this here, and thank you for bringing it. I'm also happy to collab with Robbie Wilson. She's awesome. So I'm glad that we're all going to be on a good team, and I'm just ready for us to have a Kingmakers Roundtable meeting and have a great Zoom and start planning this out.
I'm Marquita. I'm the student support provider for Payton Elementary. I'm going to be working with my principal, Drew Sarator, and a parent liaison, Miss Renata Westbrooks, to roll out Kingmakers for Payton. And Sarah Stone, I'm super excited. I have so many ideas, and I want to start today, but I'm on here with you guys. I'm going to call on Brian if he's in the room. He's a facilitator too.
I'm not sure if I see Brian Deshay here, but I will say that I believe Mr. E is here too.
Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I am so busy right now, but I'm all ears in our meeting right now. How you guys doing? I'm Mr. E. Elijah Wilson. I'm a para at Ruby Bridges, and I'm so excited to be on board with this meeting alongside Kingmakers. Big fan of Kingmakers, so I'm ready to rock and roll. So excuse me, I'm babysitting my sisters right now. Got a little busy day going ahead, but I'm all ears in our meeting.
Good morning, everybody. Just like Mr. E, I got a busy morning right now helping my son, integrate himself with middle school. I'm a peer educator at Love Elementary. I'm super excited to get this thing going in Alameda, to broaden our horizons and get our diversity really at a high level. We've really been kind of working on this with the last year or so. Me, Marquita, Sarah, my principal, Tina. So I'm super excited. Hope you guys are excited to listen to Chris and everything that he's going to bring to the table, because this year is really going to be a super year for us.
Excellent. And then Danielle Farr, is Danielle present? Because she was in our training as well. I don't want to make sure she has an opportunity to introduce herself.
Is it Danielle Myler?
No, it would be Miss Farr Matthews. I don't believe she's here today, Chris.
Oh, that Danielle. Okay.
Yeah.
All good. So before I get into the formal process, I just want to acknowledge y'all. The Calvary is not coming to save us. We must look to each other. We have all that we need on the island, right? But what we lack is will and organization. And what will give us the opportunity to create a moment into a movement is sharing our collective story, right? And so I'm honored to be in community with you. I'm honored to stand as we opened with the hero. Really, you all are the heroes and sheroes on the island. And so I give thanks for Brother Michael. I give thanks for Sister Marquita. I give thanks for Michaela, B. Mac, the whole crew that just introduced yourself. And so I'm going to share a framework today. Again, it's not a plug and play, but in my 30 years and the opportunity to lead in Oakland, it's an opportunity to share what we've been curating and help facilitate Alameda on this journey of really dismantling institutions of oppression and reimagining and co-constructing a school system that truly is in service of each and every child. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to open with the video to give some context on Kingmakers of Oakland. Bear with me right quick. Can folks see my video though? All right, excellent. I'm sorry, because I saw myself, but here we go.
When you look at the history of this country, Black children, Black people, Black consciousness, the Black physical body, the Black spirit is under daily assault and daily attack. And so we posit if we focus and are intentional and apologetic around the needs of Black children, it actually will empower and engage all children and all families. One of the big questions that is asked within the curriculum is, how do I see myself? And schools oftentimes give an answer to Black boys. See yourself as having a Black History Month. See yourself as in the lower track classes. So for us, this is not just a job. This is a necessity. We can predict educational outcomes based on your gender, the neighborhood you live in, and the ethnicity. That is racial inequity at its finest. It's important for people that do this work to come with that same sense of urgency. I know we will have moved the bar to the next level when public schools across the country actually move beyond 10th grade ethnic studies courses or Black History Month to literally rewriting curriculum in this country. When you see a young king, understand that he's not an N-word. When you see a young king, understand his potential, where you can see how bringing out Black genius works. Now is the time really to lean into these institutions and rewrite a whole new narrative. We just wanted to be clear that this is about the love of Black boys. This is about the love of our children. This is about giving our lives as best we can to create a new world for them.
Black boy, better listen close. When your elders speaking, better have the most respect. And I'll teach you how to get it. We ain't always gotta act like opposition. No, I got the wisdom, I'ma share it with you. If my life a movie, what you in the picture? If I got some time, I can kick it with you. Chop it up, tell me what's been on your mind. Pardon my absence, we back on the grind.
All right, can folks see this initial slide? Thumbs up. All right, excellent. So we'll just go ahead and jump in. What I would have had you have done is respond in the chat to some thoughts, feelings that came up for you as you were watching the video. I'll go into my intro. As I said before, founder, Kingmakers of Oakland, was in Oakland Unified School District, launched the first department of its kind in the country called African American Male Achievement some 10 years ago in Oakland, then created the Office of Equity within Oakland Unified School District as I then moved on to the Deputy Chief. And then this past year was the Senior Advisor of Diversity and Equity Inclusion. But just so you know, I'm a father of 3 sons, so I appreciated the 2 brothers that were having to navigate supporting their children. Technically, I am a physical education teacher, kindergarten through 8th grade, as well as a former high school social studies teacher, married 24 years to LaShawn Route Chapman, and I'm a product of public schools. So workshop, the goals and objectives of this, I'm gonna try to keep it as tight as I can, but the goal is to socialize folks on the systemic approach to transforming experiences and outcomes for African-American boys in a district. So again, I'm gonna share a process, knowing that for us, the process is actually the product. The goal is to be inspired and provoked by seeing and hearing experiences and lessons learned, and then give folks an opportunity to ask questions as well. But I wanna first start off with the design principles and frameworks. And what has been clear to me about what's happening in this country, when we are in moments of crisis, they actually reveal our individual values and our systemic and structural values. So it's important that what is going to get us through this next journey is being tethered to who we are and whose we are. And so we believe in historical context matters. The past is present in people, things, and systems of oppression. The past was designed and the present is being designed. It is important to note that we are curating new spaces and places, and we are all designers. We believe in radical inclusion. The problems of equity work, racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, are rooted in our distance, our single stories, and our habits of exclusion. Inequity where it lives, our separation, recognizing the multiplicity of stories of truths, their proximities, their intersection, and the people who own the stories are requisite of equity design work. This is radical inclusion. We believe in process as product. Equity is a verb. It is the process, not the end point. When designing, both the ends and the means matter. We can't model the future on the past. We need to live the future we want today.
He's frozen again.
Oh, Sarah, the folks are just not here. I'm freezing. Is that what's happening?
You're freezing up. So my suggestion is that you take yourself off and then come back.
So log off and then log back on?
I think so, yeah. And then while you're doing that, I can share a few of the data points that you started to talk about AUSD, so that we can see why it's so imperative that you're here. So my name is Sarah Stone. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for Alameda Unified, and super, super excited to be a part of these events, and super excited to to be working alongside Robbie and Sarah Henry and Kingmakers. So when Robbie and I discussed this event today, we really wanted to make sure that our data is really transparent and clear. And so we wanted you to see, based on our data, what we are committed to doing moving forward. So as you can see, about 5.8% of our students in Alameda Unified identify as Black. We also have students who are multiracial. Of our Black students, we have 12% who are in special education. So there's some disproportionality there. We also see that we have 15.8% of our students who identify as Black as chronically absent. And the disproportionality continues with our student suspension rates. Next slide, please. We are also seeing disproportionality on our student achievement data. And what I want to be really, really clear about is that this is not our students' fault. This is our system's fault, and this is because of the conditions that we have created. And we are committed to changing those conditions, to really thinking about the education debt, the moral debt, and what it is that we need to do to shift things for our students so that we are creating the right conditions for all of our students to be successful. And for that reason, we decided to partner with Kingmakers of Oakland. Next slide, please. So our graduate profile has really, we all worked together so hard on this before COVID hit last year. We really are committed to continuing to move in this direction, making sure that all of our students are college, career, and life ready, that everyone is seeking opportunities and challenges of learning, that they're working to know themselves and working effectively with others, and that we're building community through understanding and service. Next slide, please. So we have some very specific priorities and practices that we're embedding this year into our work. The big one that I want to highlight here is that we really want our students to be able to dialogue about equity issues and take action to interrupt inequity. We know that that needs to happen through students having experiential inquiry-based learning, reading, thinking, talking, and writing about complex texts, and maintaining, establishing and maintaining really healthy relationships with the teachers, the educators with them, but also with all of the students that they're connected with. In order to do this, and I'm not going to go through all the slides as in depth as this, next slide, please. We have our teacher priorities, and you see that they line up. We want our teachers to use protocols and phrases that interrupt conversations and actions that perpetuate inequity. Next slide, please. Our leadership, same thing. Next slide, please. And our district, we are actively an anti-racist teaching and learning organization that is empowering each and every student to make progress towards college and career during and post-COVID. Next slide, please. So embedded in all of these priorities and practices, I just want to show some commitments that AUSD is making. We're committed to being anti-racist. We are very clear that we have a strategic plan that will be explicit with African American student success, Black student success. We are reflective on our leading, our teaching, and our own assumptions. And we are going to align our actions with these values. And so for that reason, we're really excited to be partnering with Kingmakers. And I see Chris is back, and I want to give him the floor. I did want to just say, I think Pasquale Scuderi, our superintendent, is also here, and I'm not sure if he wanted to say a quick hello to the group.
Hello.
Oh, there he
Hello.
is.
Yeah, hey, I'm trying to deal with my kids too, but I always get really charged up listening to Chris. So I'm here as a learner and a listener this morning. It's good to be with y'all.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, Chris, without further ado, I hope it works out. Let's keep our videos off, and let's see if we can make this happen. We so appreciate you, Chris.
Engagement, encouragement, and empowerment of African American youth. From there, beginning a listening campaign with Black children at the heart. So listening to them on what they feel and believe is happening in service of those children. As a way then to fuel and feed the design process. That design process then will help allow you all to think about what are the strategies from the classroom to the boardroom then that we'll need to think about that address the system, the structure, the culture, and the condition. And for Oakland, we came up with, and really it's for Kingmakers of Oakland now, this framework of healing the fish while treating the toxic ecosystem. And so we acknowledge, and I see Sarah still freezing, maybe keep your camera off. I'm hoping folks are hearing me. All right, cool.
We can hear you, Chris.
All right, thank you, Mia. So this idea of healing the fish while treating the toxic ecosystem, there is absolutely nothing wrong with Black children, with Latino, Chicano, Indigenous children, with API children, that we send them to a school system that is grounded and nested in Eurocentricity and white supremacy. And if we look at the historical context, then we can understand why the educational outcomes are disproportionately racialized. So that disproportionate racialized outcomes we call the toxic ecosystem, and that is the culture, the condition, the harsh discipline policies, unequipped teachers, not necessarily knowing how to engage, encourage, empower our children, the biased curriculum, as well as the criminalization of Black people in the media and in music. And so that fuels and feeds the school to prison pipeline. So what can we do differently? One, we have to do a systems audit around the policies, right? And begin to sunset those policies that perpetuate that disproportionality, and then give birth to racial equity and healing policies, give birth to policies that actually accelerate ethnic studies and the cultural prosperity of Black, Brown, and API youth, from language arts to mathematics to science and history, from preschool through 12th grade. We also have to be intentional around developing teacher pipelines of teachers of color from preschool through 12th grade. And then lastly, how we change the narrative and moving out of the problem of practice to the promise of practice. And this is really important because we believe and posit whoever controls the narrative in the country and locally ultimately has the power. And beginning to call into vision, well, what is the vision for the island in service of all children? And then reverse engineer what that needs to look like and sound like. And so the next slide, or the strategy I'll talk about, is then, well, how do you deal with the toxic ecosystem? Our strategy is then, in the design team, is to have students, families, teachers, school leaders, district leaders, city officials, and community members. So this idea of moving out of the traditional positional hierarchy to then creating a more concentric circle where everyone has agency and begins to build out what are the strategies for students, for parents, for teachers, and school leaders, and then calibrate that to a system-wide strategy. And so the area I'll go a little bit deeper is we land on working with districts around 6 areas. 1, culturally responsive pedagogy. So we believe that Eurocentric curriculum helps marginalize children of color, and that even though they may master that content, which we do, if we can accelerate the cultural prosperity from preschool through 12th grade in all of our core content areas, it actually will benefit all children as we prepare them for a global economy. But one driver is culturally responsive pedagogy. The other driver is supporting districts around recruiting, training, and retaining Black male teachers. The other piece is around leadership, youth leadership at every level. Then family and community engagement is our 4th driver. 2 more drivers, narrative change, and then policy. Where we'll go deep in right now is really what we're kind of the starting point and launch pad for Alameda, is how we're working with Mikhail, Marquita, Michael, Mr. E, Daniel, and BMAC, really around leveraging our KEPRA curriculum, which means transformation, and really beginning to support them and bring them into a broader national learning community of teachers of color that could begin to think about how we engage, encourage, and empower Kings with an African-centered curriculum in our schools as a touch point to begin to then launch that where all children can benefit not only from the curriculum, but from those pedagogical practices. So I'll stop there, just in the sense that I know the tech piece has been very challenging. But maybe what I'd like to do is allow Michael and team then to share what they went through a 1-week intensive training. And then we had a follow-up last week with our monthly PLC, Professional Learning Community, for our facilitators. If they would like to share some of the things that they got out of that training that they'll be bringing into the classes virtually for this year. And then I can take any questions. And again, apologize for the technical glitch, but I can share my slide deck with everyone as well. And I'll be in community with you all too. So I'm looking forward to just supporting, learning, and growing with you all. But I'm going to pass it to Michael in the spirit of Brother Michael, maybe 1 or 2 things you'd like to share with the community that as a result of the training that's helped you kind of think about either the importance of the work or how you in Alameda will, kind of help kind of leverage what you've learned within the cool milieu. So I'll pass it to you, Michael.
Thank you, good brother. It's really hard to sum up the week of work that we did to and share with y'all what we learned, because there's just so many valuable things that were learned throughout that week. But the thing that I also heard in the video, even though I wasn't seeing it, that I really want to point out that I think is really, really important to acknowledge is that the entire goal of this process and this program is just about love for Black boys, and just understanding what it is to be a young Black man and to be loved by educators and by people who are not their direct family is something that is entirely important. And we want to spread that influence amongst our district and our teachers and our parents and everybody involved. And so I think that for me, the most important part of this portion in this process is just showing love. It's something that we do a lot within our professional learning community. There's only love that is shared amongst the kings and queens that are facilitating this this curriculum, and it's all about us also sharing love with our young Black boys, and that is key to their success, and they're feeling good and comfortable and safe in our environments. Other than that, there's like the one of the other things that like really struck out as important to me was just to create a system and a culture that was strategic on our planning process and consistent for our young men who were going to go through our education system. And so really taking the time to put in the work to create a system that is working and healthy for them, so that they can be successful and so that we can help put a mirror on their greatness and their beauty as young men and young women of color. Other than that, I think that just the idea of like Kepler curriculum, meaning transformation and growth, changes into something great. All of these things, the language is entirely important when it comes to what we're doing here, in the way in which we speak to our kings, in the way in which we treat our kings. And then one of the other things that I would also say was my favorite is taking the advocation for our young Black men from us and giving that power to them, right? And so ultimately, as they grow through this process, we want that power to start with us and be taught by us, but then ultimately be given to them so that they become advocates for themselves and for the community and for the rest of their brothers and sisters that are growing up as well. So shift of power, right? And if you look at the Brother Chris's screen, Kingmakers, right? We're shifting that power from us to them and sharing that with them so they can share it with each other.
Michael, powerful, brother. Such a testament to your spirit, your acumen, and deeply appreciate your reflections carrying forward. Before we bring in one of the queens who also were present, I also want to acknowledge that you can't have African-American male achievement without African-American female achievement. So it is not in isolation, it is in coordination.
It has been a crisis since I've been here. And to finally have, everything's a process, but to at least have a glimmer of hope that change is coming, change is possible, that we all gave up our Saturdays to be a part of this conversation, that your team sounds, each of them. Michael, I definitely want to meet you. For all of you, I want to meet in person, but I love the energy y'all bring. Marquita, I want to hear those ideas, and Renata, I love you already. So it's just great to see so many powerful people of color, BIPOC community, that will be able to lead our young youth. And I think one of you said, I can't remember right now in my mind, but it is, I always say, we, Black Achievers Alliance, yes, the term is Black, but we are a BIPOC organization, but we're also an organization for all youth. So it's just a matter, it came to Black Achievers because we needed to empower our people in order for us to be empowered to join the greater Alameda community. And I think it was Makita, I think you mentioned the divide on this island. There is a divide, and with these kind of conversations, with bringing these kind of your organization, I say your ministry, you speak to my spirit, so I say your ministry because that is what these youth need. I do work at APC. I do, I deal with very, I love the community because there is so much openness for change, for willingness, for they want to do more. So I'm just visualizing as you guys are speaking of what this program is, I'm just thinking of individual students' faces. And it really touches me because, this week with this new start of school, this whole COVID, it has been very revealing. I think we all know that. I think the systematic racism that is in the school district, all school districts, I believe, I just speak truth, that the system was created to keep oppress the people of color. And I think it is courage to have this conversation. I thank you, Chris, for having this vision, because it takes vision and it takes, and I want to just say thank you for being king in this conversation, because at no point in time did you give up giving your message, okay? We all know right now in this technology, Lord knows I am not a tech savvy person. My daughter, 10 years old, is my IT. And so it is the fact that you held it. You know what I mean? And your message was still strong, even without slides, because your message is in your heart and in your spirit, and that shows. And so I'm so happy for our youth in this community. I do have a question I know we have some questions in the chat, but I had a couple of questions that came to me, people who couldn't make it today. So I don't want to forget their questions because they are definitely a part of this conversation. One of you answered already was, is there going to be a Queen program? A lot of your young girls were like, wait a minute, it's a Kingsmaker, what about us? And so, it is good to see some queens on here that are representing, because you guys, you're going to give them hope. You know what I mean? I like Makita, so you're going to have boys and girls in your groups. Hopefully all you guys will, because it is uniting us together as one. And like one of you guys said, before there was kings, there were queens to make that king. And so I appreciate, so I can let the youth know, the young girls know that it's coming, you're not forgotten. And the second question was, as a Black Achievers Alliance is a community organization, we're speaking of, you have a great facilitator team. You have staff that's going to be, I'm trained and I'm hoping. What can the community at large do to support this movement you're getting ready to start here for our youth? What can the community do at large? Whether they have kids or not, there's a lot of, in the last couple of months, that people have been really want to step forward. A lot of allies want to step forward. People with parents, with kids, without kids. How can a community as a whole support this movement right now? And that's for you, Chris. Or any of you.
Well, I will follow the lead of you all. A few things, and this is in our design process, is our strength is in our support, right? And so this idea of developing a campaign that builds will is going to be really important, right? The East-West schism didn't happen overnight. So on some level, beginning just to understand the island's history and not to call out, but to understand the complexity of how we came that way, right? Because once you understand that, then we can figure out collectively how do we as Alamedians then redesign what we want to be. And so I say this to say that this idea of asset mapping, what are all the assets on the island, right? How do we begin a common vision where all of us can see that? An area where public school institutions miss out right now, artists. Artists, if we have artists and at the table, they can make clear what we can't in research, academia, or in the verbal world. So a couple of things. One, there could be a process, and I can share what we've done in the past and what we're doing with other districts on how do you build a campaign where everyone sees themselves in that collective vision. What artists can do, though, is make the invisible visible through the art, through the word, through the sound, through movement. And so the curators of culture, that's where our healing is, right? And so it's an opportunity as Alameda begins to look at both past and present. I would say your designers, forefront are your children, but also bring in the artists. What we're going through as a country right now, we don't even have words and healing for it, but our artists, our curators, and our elders do. And so so a couple things. Lead with data. So I would encourage the data that I came into, and it was a little fragmented, and that was on me in technology. But you use data, right? Wu-Tang used to say cream, right? Cash rules everything around me, cream. The new thing is dream. Data rules everything around me, dream. We got to look at the data to build will, right? And not locate the problem with the children. We created this, right? And so you use the data to build will and let other people who are like, oh, those who may say them, let them, like, we don't even need to lead with a racial filter. When you disaggregate the data and you begin to engage community, let them begin to see who is excelling based on this structure and who's not. Right? And begin then to build will that, wow, actually, we have to do something differently. And then you can look at it because everyone's entry point can be very different. But all that to say, I would really look at a year of developing this conspiracy of care, right? And you guys come up with your language, how you begin to get municipality. The district is just one structure. When you look at the toxic ecology, a district doesn't operate in isolation of juvenile justice, doesn't operate in isolation of public health, which doesn't, there's the gerrymandering and how Black folk were positioned, not just in Alameda, not just in Oakland, but we live in the most toxic areas in the United States. That was by intention. There is no, so we got to get to all that. And so I would say my first year would be a campaign of building will, right? Of beginning to use shared language. The problem with equity is I'll ask everybody in the little matrix here, and everybody will tell me a different, oh, well, equity means this. I ask you, well, what is structural racism? We got to begin to come with a common language. That takes time, right? But then as Alameda takes that stance of building will, of letting the data move that urgency of your moral imperative, and then and always at the center having your children, then that feeds your design process. And then you come up with your strategies and you have your check-ins, and sometimes what you think will work doesn't work. And then you say, you know what? We got to pivot. So this is where Baba C is looking forward to just being in community with Mia, Robbie, Sarah, Pasquale, Michael, Marquis, all y'all. But who are our judge are our children. And I just say this, when it's all said and done, we are, and in my African heritage, a greeting in some of our areas, simply put, is how are the children? And if the children are not well, y'all, we are not well. And so we have to make sure center to everything we do are how are the children? And so that is always my guide. Every time we're assessing each other, our children should be assessing us. And so I could share my theories of action and processes. I would say in closing, if you want to, if you're interested, we got 2 books. I don't know if you can see that, Transformative Schooling. So, and We Dare Say Love, written by Dr. Naila Nasir, Dr. Jarvis Gibbons, and myself. So we have the research, we've codified the practice, and it's not a plug and play though, because what we're doing in Oakland, you can't necessarily do in Alameda or San Francisco, but the process, and that's the other piece, and I'll close on this. Listen, we have to stop using the metrics of the oppressor to assess the efficacy of what we're trying to do. Because these traditional metrics, they'll shut down this very initiative. So we have to elevate self-efficacy and cultural identity. And I'll say, as a product of public schools who graduated with a 1.8 GPA, who would have told me, once I knew and was able to put on my crown and I knew who I was, I would have got a full ride to an Ivy League institution. Who would have told me with a 1.8 GPA, I would have went and not met President Barack Obama once, but twice, and bring a whole group of kings. Why? Because a self-actualized, humble leader who then knows how to get what they need will go farther faster than somebody that just, that knows the matrix but does not know who or she is. And so all this to say, we got to bend the traditional metrics and elevate equal to, yes, we want everyone to read. Yes, we want the mathematics. Yes, we want the science. Yes, we want academic discourse and reading complex texts. Yet that has to be equal to cultural identity, and that has to be equal to cultural prosperity. So I'll stop there, but I'm just excited, y'all, and happy for you all just to take that leap of faith, because so many folk talk, but they're not willing to actually just get in, and you all are getting in. So just continue to build trust. That we're going to go at the speed of trust.
Robbie, is it okay if I add a little bit onto that?
Sure. Who just said that?
It's Michael.
Oh, yes, Michael. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. I just want to say that I think that true power in being an ally comes from being very open to learn on multiple levels. One, Chris just touched on what the difference between equity and equality is. And to be an ally, we have to understand equity more than equality, because equality is not going to give us what we need for our young Black students. I think that it's really important to trust us as Black leaders to lead the cause and to lead this movement. And so to be an ally, you may have been used to having power for most of your life, but you got to allow us to have the power and be a supporter, but not want to have the power, right? Because this movement has to be led by Black and brown folks, because we are the ones who have lived that experience, and we are the ones. I just like Chris, I graduated from Encinal High School. I went through Alameda Unified School District. I had my mother get sick in high school, and my father pass away early in life. I didn't grow up with a father. I had a 2.4. I didn't see that I was a king, and so here we are now as leaders, and it's our time to lead, and allies. You got to be there to support us, but to trust our leadership. And then the other thing I think is really important is understanding our own bias, but not only understanding our own bias. If you're an ally, or if you're a teacher that is not a Black teacher, you may receive bias from a young Black student, because now they're looking back at you, assuming that you're not going to love them for them. And so if you're going to be an ally, you must know that if you come across those walls from a young Black student, that you got to fight past their walls too, right? So you're not just going past your own bias, but you also have to fight past the bias of a student that is our form of protection, because we've been in this system that has hurt us for so long. So I definitely think that to be an ally, you have to understand that it's going to be bumps in the process, and you may be trying to be an ally, and you may catch the bias of a young Black student that you got to then beat past too, so that then we have that bridge between that finds that connection. And I think that's something that we talk about our own bias all the time, but as educators and allies, we have to build a bridge between us. And sometimes that means fighting through the bias that a young student may have towards you in protection of themselves.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. Did any other facilitator want to say any closing words before we go on to questions from the chat? Okay. Sir, I know you had some questions in chat.
Yeah, just a few, and a few have already been addressed. But the first one, just if you want to address it again, is somebody has asked about the gender issue. Their understanding was that BIPOC girls only do marginally better, but Kingmakers focuses on boys. Is the school, and is AUSD specifically, going to address the needs of BIPOC girls?
I can answer that. So the theory of action with Kingmakers, and as Chris has kind of named, what worked in Oakland and what's worked in other areas may not be what needs to happen in Alameda Unified specifically. We recognize, and Marquita, Michaela are on the call. We recognize that we also need to be focusing on our Black girls. We also have other youth that we need to focus on. So this idea of like targeted universalism, healing the fish while treating the toxic waters of our ecosystem, it's not to say that it's only going to be for our Black boys. What we need to do is we really need to look at what are the practices and what are the policies and what are the ways that we can really make sure that we're lifting up our youth, that we're changing the conditions that we've created to help all of our youth be as successful as possible. And so a lot of what Kingmakers has done is definitely translatable and definitely going to be used in other areas, and with our girls. And like I said, we have other groups of youth who also will benefit. And I think Chris said it at the beginning, and I truly believe this, or maybe it was Robbie. When we focus, when one group that has been, I think of this as, when you're lifting up people who have been put down for so long, you're lifting everybody up. You're supporting everybody. And those practices and that work that needs to happen for us as educators helps all of our students. So it's to say that this is a year for us to really look at, okay, what are we going to do? What are those practices and policies and procedures? What is the curriculum that's really going to support our youth?
A next question is asking, actually several questions have asked this, the same thing, which is what can parents do to help?
I think I'm going to send that to Chris.
Well, a few things, especially in this virtual world, in particular my mamas and single parents. We got to make sure you take care of you, right? We are in extraordinary times. And for our mamas right now that are managing work and managing little ones, managing husbands or partners, so I just want to say, make sure when that, you get into the plane, they say when that mask, when the mask drops, you got to put it on you first. So I just want to first start off to make sure parents, making sure you're taking care of self, right? Your physical being. And then I would say there's power in partnership. Isolation right now, we're living in some pretty extraordinary times. So this idea, and this is where our more affluent folks are accessing this social capital, right? They are setting up these pods and networks, not only for their children, but for themselves, be it happy hours or just emotional spaces or book clubs. So I just say, don't isolate, right? Figure out, lean in. Sarah, Robbie, Mia, and Robbie, I don't even know you, Queen, but I know you, right? Because you're spirit. Mia, and lean to the community. We are the blessing when you live your passion and your purpose is there's folks in Alameda Unified and Pasquale, reach out. So if you find yourself as a parent, you're feeling isolated, reach out. And who are some folks? Marquita, Michaela, figuring out who are some folks I can just ask just to get on a call, and so start small. So a couple of things, what parents can do, making sure they take care of self, making sure they begin to establish a network of other sisters or other folks that they could just partner with, support. Then thinking about school, accessing the assets that a school system have, which many times, again, of folks of color, we've had traumatized experiences with public schools. So a lot of times we ain't necessarily trying to see the school system as an asset, but we have to deal with our trauma, right? And our trigger, because the system, listen, We got to hold them accountable. So how could they support us? Be it with mental health services, be it with food, technology, be it with supporting before school, during school. So reach out to your teacher, reach out to the principal, reach out to central office in the spirit of supports for your little one. That will help you, are things that you can do. The last thing I'll just say is just rituals of resistance, right? And so one I've already talked about in terms of making sure you take care of self. But the others in the spirit of, oh man, and I'm sorry, my head's all over the place because my heart is just so open. But the rituals of resistance in the spirit of routines and rituals, right? So with the little person, it's a great time. Little people need consistency too. And just as much as we're going through it, our little people are going through it. So what are those rituals, right? The cure is in the culture. So what are those rituals we can do? Like in the morning when we're making up our beds, we could be singing brown bear, brown bear. We could be doing little, routines, setting up a little structure, whatever those systems and structures internally in our home that can help and provide consistency and continuity, those things help. And when we don't know, again, we got to create a community where there is no east, west, north, and south. And there is, that's just that's just the sauce and the flavor, but no one's in isolation. It is the collective genius and how we support. And so, man, we just got to be able to ask. We got to be able to support everyone that took on a Saturday, Miss Robbie. Everyone on this call is a shero and a hero. So I would read like John Castleberry, man. I'm like, bro, where'd you get your hat, right? Like I'm looking at Tony Wright. I want to connect, man. Where'd you get your chain? Like Sherilyn Lawrence. I want to see where you got your frames from, Sharon. I mean, it's how do we got to just connect. And so, but it is a crazy time, y'all. And if you were not traumatized, there's probably something wrong with you. So I just say, we just pick up the phone, even in our community, just start random calls, man. How you doing? Sister Verna, she just schooled me. Chris, make sure when you're talking about API that you also, our Pacific Islander brothers and sisters, have a different experience. And that's our challenge, even with these classifications, man. But we just got to have the audacity to get to know each other. And that takes courage with self too. So I just say for parents, man, we just got to reach out. And for those of us and then if we find ourselves having a little extra time, just send a text. Hey, I'm thinking, Sarah, man, I just appreciate you, Queen. Sarah Henry, I appreciate you for your support of the technology today. Sister Yolanda, man, your head wrap, man, just gives me pride. And I want to find where you got that at so I can get my wife that same head wrap. Now's the time we have to step into this gap. And so hopefully those little sprinkles, Miss Robbie, help a little bit, knowing I'm on my journey and Lord knows there's days I absolutely need support. In particular, if you are of color in this country right now, it is hard, and if you're a conscious person, it is hard. So we just gotta heal, support, but appreciate that question, whoever posed it, around our parents right now.
A next question, and again, there's a bunch of these questions too, but folks are asking how the Kingmakers program is going to be rolled out in AUSD. Folks want to know, will all schools have a program? Is it just high school or middle schools involved? People are really excited. And they want to also know about the timeline.
So I can answer that. So we last year started by focusing in on 3 of our schools, Ruby Bridges, Love, and Payton. Those are sites where we felt that we really needed to target. So if we think of this idea of targeted universalism, we do have to start somewhere. This year, so with the support of Michael, Michaela, Mr. E, Marquita, and I'm Brian and Renat and some other people on the call, I apologize if I'm missing you. They have been getting trained and they have been figuring out how we are going to roll this out. We're also going to be working with Wood this year. And we are trying to figure out how we can start this with Michael Waller's help at Lincoln, as well as Encinal and AHS. So it's a slow but a fast rollout. My vision, my hope is that there will be this type of support in every single school in AUSD. It will look different depending on the schools and the context and the needs, but it is definitely something that we are working on. The other thing I want to say is that there is specific curriculum that Kingmakers has created. And my hope and my intention is to actually start bringing that curriculum in. And it's A through G aligned. It's amazing, beautiful curriculum. And I'd like to be bringing that into our high schools and our middle schools as soon as possible. There is also, I believe, Chris, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's work on elementary curriculum as well that we're focusing on. So, so it is rolling out.
Yeah, I'll just jump in, Sarah, and just kind of highlight again where Chris started us off with, which is that it's a system-wide effort. You talked about a campaign across our city and across our district. You talked about looking at our policies, looking at our policies around equity. You talked about a system-wide look at our curriculum. So I love that we're able to kind of roll out as we can in individual schools. But I feel like this is an all school, every school opportunity for us if we really take to heart the bigger pieces that you're talking about.
Actually, somebody had posted about that campaign, asking for more about the process of creating and then learning from the listening campaign that Chris spoke about.
Yeah, so those folks that are organizers will understand intimately and intricately in terms of the spirit of which I move around campaign. That's a whole process. So and not to say my process is the process. I think this is where learning the history even of the island, right? Because in talking to one of our brothers, Brother Rashid, the other day, as I'm just continuing to try to build and connect, he was sharing that, hey, we used to have a Black Studies course at one of our high schools like 20, 30 years ago. Like there's some things that institutionally sometimes don't carry because institutions of oppression self-correct, that in particular when it's nuanced by race and be it Black, API, Latino raza, that we have to look at what has already been done. How do we begin to bring that out? But the campaign, there's different processes, but I just say that it can't be, it's not just Pasquale's job, right? Pasquale's an extraordinary, and he's an awesome brother, so I'm not knocking Pasquale, but there's no one single input. There's no one single person, entity. It has to be, and this is where we have to curate a process where people can see themselves in, and that's going to take a minute. So in that first year, the importance of understanding who are the culture keepers in every environment, what are the assets, right? And this is where corporate and your private community has to see themselves in the work as well. But that's where you all in that process, from the boardroom to the classroom, from in the public school system and outside the public school system, you all will be able to define what that campaign looks like, feels like, sounds like. And through that, then organizing the folks that are going to, it ain't kingmakers. Let me be clear. I'm not coming in to teach a class. I'm not, and I'm not displacing. Now I'll support in the spirit of thought partnership, but it's you all, right? That's the work. But so I say that to say that the campaign is key on multiple levels. And y'all, the one thing that we have to think about this is its legacy work. And really, as I'm still learning, I'm 52 years young. That I'm actually realizing right now that I still have so much to learn, and this work really is ancestral and celestial. So we have to be thinking about where each one of you on your own journey, right? And so anyway, man, so the campaign is key. I forgot the question already, but in that, the piece, this is what I want to say. Be cautious of the 3 to 5 year strategic plan. Right. This is where we have to look to our Asian brothers and sisters in particular who think about, and my indigenous brothers and sisters, 7 generations before and 7 generations ahead. I got my reading from a Cantonese brother a few months ago, and the way that he projects his vision was based on 3,000 years of data on this reading, right? And it has to do with the elements. And so again, we want to bring in other non-traditional ways of looking at this, but thinking about it in terms of 10 years. Everybody on this call right now should have 10. Who are the 10 people that are going to replace you? Literally. Because these systems outlive all of us and they self-correct. So if you're not already thinking about who are you handing the baton, not to one, but to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that we're done. So thinking about your campaign to build will, skill, and organize, we are planting seeds that will become trees that will provide shade for children we haven't even conceived of yet. And just let that ride. This is how deep the work is. And this is how embedded this system is, y'all. And it is embedded. So in doing the landscape analysis and building will and understanding the context of Alameda, then you use that to design, and then you stay in continuous improvement, right? And you're going to have high days and low days, but you just stay in it and keep reflecting and keep growing. And I'm telling you, y'all, you just can't help to bear beautiful fruit, right? And you don't fix the fruit when something's wrong. You fix the condition. Right? So we've created the conditions that are manifesting and privileging some. Shame on us that based on your area code and your zip code, I could predict your life outcomes. Man, I mean, so we got to get right with our moral imperative and understand to upset the setup, we got to go far deeper. And it's going to require us to move in ways that we don't know or familiar with. But look to our ancestors, look to our history and her story, leverage each other, build trust, tell story. And I actually feel given right now, we're going to curate something that's extraordinary. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
That was awesome.
And I do want to be conscious of time, because Chris, I could listen to you all day, but I do, and we're going to have an offline conversation, because you and I, we're kindred here. So you're speaking the language. But Sarah, I want to make sure folks that are any more questions in chat.
Yeah, we have just a few more. I think we can get through them. We have folks that are hanging on. So I'm going to ask two at once. The first is, how are Black students going to be included in the process? And the second is, how does the community get trained to align with what's taught? I think those two go kind of hand in hand.
Excellent. I can sprinkle kind of what our approach is, but then I'll defer definitely to Sarah and team. So a couple things. Our facilitators, we don't do classroom management, we do leadership development. If we are creating a new system and structure, right, that where the cure is in the culture, if our children are not leading right now, what we're curating, they won't be able to then take it to another level. So I say this to say, as early as preschool, we should be thinking about leadership development at every level. And in particular, a rising tide raises all ships. We have to be intentional and unapologetic here based on the data around the needs of Black children, right? They are the canary in the coal mine if we understand this nation's history. And so with that, at leadership, we got to accelerate leadership for all children, but in particular around Black children. Now around the family, and I think, was it family, Sarah, the other piece, or say the second part?
Community.
Community
Then, so you have this program, and then how does the community support?
Yeah, we got, curating healing spaces. The data walks are going to be important. The cafes, and I know during the time of virtual, it is different, but we still have to do it. I mean, the reality is our children need us to do it. So, and at some point we'll be able to be in the park and do other things too, and in classrooms, but the community place is really, there is no different. Everyone's going through the same kind of processes, right? We're looking at data. Hopefully it's building will and urgency. And then we're figuring out, what do we do? We all have a role, and the community has a role. So Pasquale and his senior leadership, they got to look in the mirror, and then they got to look out the window. Mia, at the board level, they got to look in the mirror, and then they got to look out the window. Robbie is a community culture keeper. They got to look at it. If we are facilitating and curating a process now from the boardroom to the classroom that's internal and external, it's that when you have the stars align like they do and when they do, the uptake of that, it will provide extraordinary, you'll be able to cultivate just new conditions, new systems, and new structures. But so I say this to say, and Sarah and Pasquale and I and me and whoever, all y'all, I think it's figuring out the sheet music. It don't matter if you're the piccolo player, you're the drummer, you're the violinist. We can all begin to see ourselves in the beauty of our instrument on the sheet music. What we lack right now, humbly, and it's only, actually, I don't even say lack, because that's deficit. I would love, what is the sheet music for Alameda? What music do y'all want to play, right? Do you identify as a piccolo player, or do you identify as a upright bassist? Like, I think that's the piece, knowing there is no one single entity that can do this. And we have to have the audacity, all of us, right? And we hold the people in position of power accountable, but they have no more power than that single mother that is raising 3 kings, that is working 3 jobs. We all have power, and so the positional of folks, we have to let go, right? And we have to listen, and we have and code and take that. So it is a process, and I have some processes, not to say it's the only one. So I would say no more better time than the present. You all have what you need. And I'll say, if we just turn on the television right now, now is the time, y'all. Now we gotta get on, we gotta do it. So I just appreciate the question. And again, don't call each other out, call each other in, don't hate, appreciate. Like, I got all these cheesy sayings, but they're the actions, right? And thinking about what is that within your domain, and you guys got it. We got this.
Here, somebody wanted to type in a comment, which is that white students are taught institutional racism when there are no or few Black teachers and heroes. All children win when there are BIPOC leaders. When children will, the country will win. So I just wanted to share that. And then a couple of comments. We've now talked about the community and how they can get involved, and parents and how they can get involved in a couple of comments about how different community partner organizations can support these efforts. So I just wanted to share that. And then I'll say, just to close, the last question for Sarah, there were questions about how the Kingsmakers program is going to work in the programs, and then specifically with regards to the liaisons. And so how were they selected? Who are the facilitators? If you can just talk a little bit more about the process.
Yeah, so the process was very organic. Basically, I think the way it started was us looking in those specific schools that I mentioned. What are the needs of the school, and would this be a program that would support us? And the principals working to identify who might be folks in their schools already that would be really wanting to do this work, ready to go and work with Kingmakers together. It was a very, very organic, kind of from the bottom up process. And I just feel like we were really, really lucky. Fortunate. We have such amazing people in our schools, and they're willing to roll up their sleeves and really do some hard work. And I would say one of the answers to the question prior, the way that we're engaging our students and our community is really through this leadership from our facilitators at these schools. I mean, they are really there to facilitate hearing, listening, and then bringing those things to the district level. And back to what Mia named, which is for me, as you know, at a chief academic officer level, we need to really look at our programs, our practices, our curriculum, our policies, and we need to make sure that if we say we're an anti-racist organization, that we're living that way, that we're actually doing it. And so for me to listen to the voices of students and the community, and also to the facilitators who are going to be working so closely, it's key, and that's how it works.
So one just quick follow-up on that. How is it going to work, the information sharing and the recruitment plan? How's that going to work? And then especially given the remote and flex schooling?
That is a really good question. I actually don't have an answer to that yet. I need to meet with the team. We need to have that conversation. I actually have a meeting set up with Michael next week, and we're going to be talking about that. When we started this process, it was prior COVID-19, and so we have a lot to learn. We have a lot we need to do. And again, I'm going to lean on the brilliance of the team to help us make those decisions and figure that out.
So back to you, Robbie.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys. I am super duper excited about this program, being a part of it. Black Achievers Alliance partnering to really get this out as the community engine for this. This is, wishes, prayers have been answered with this conversation today, and just the hope that this can bring. I do want to, like I said, be conscious of time. It is Saturday, but we have 2 individuals on here that I definitely is really an example of this conversation, that, even though, we, oppress people or people try to oppress us, we still have the ability within ourselves to really be achievers, to really have success. And I'm so honored today to have two kings on this call that represented Alameda to me, two very powerful examples of Black role models, Black kings in this town. I love to highlight that because it's so hard to find them on this island, as far as wanting to step up into that role. And so my hope and prayer is that as we do this work and as we more kings and queens step up, that it will empower others to do the same. It will be a comfort. And so the first person I want to introduce he's still here, Tony Wright. Tony, you there? So can you unmute him, please? There he is. So Tony Wright, I'm just such an amazing new person in Alameda, but is doing great things. He bought Jonathan's Sandwich right here across from City Hall, and crispy crunchy chicken. And I do believe it's the only Black storefront in business in Alameda. And it's right here off of Park Street. That's prime real estate. So it's like, that is impressive. And so when me and Uncle Lester, a lot of folks know Uncle Lester, we walked, we talked to folks, and we went in there, we're like, chicken. And we went in there and it was a Black owner. We did fell out. They were like, wait a minute, where are we? And it was such, and to be able to have a conversation with such a gentle soul. I really appreciate you, Tony, and just what you bring in to the community. You're hired a Black teen, a Black young is very dear and close to my heart. And so just being an example. And so can you please speak briefly, just your inspiration, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you hope to bring to Alameda. Thanks.
Ms. Robbie, thank you so much for your kind words. I'm excited. I came in here not knowing what to expect, and Chris, you just wowed me with all your information, brother. And I just want to say, man, I'm from Chicago, born and raised, man. I'm in South Side, so I know about the struggles of the young men and young women. And I'm just excited. I'm a proud father of 8, 4 boys and 4 girls, and that's always, I'm gonna lead with that, and always say I want to be thankful to my Lord, for being sparing me through all my ups and downs. But I'm so encouraged to be here in Alameda. Aside from what people say, the myths of Alameda, Alameda's been good to me. I'm proud to be able to say that I'm a business here in Alameda. I'm proud of my community. I'm proud of how they embrace me. It's a pandemic and it's a struggle and things are difficult. But in the midst of all that, it's been some great people who reached out, who came by, who supports, who make sure I'm okay. From the city council to my district association brothers, they've come by and they've shared positive things. And in the midst of all this, I'm excited to bring a product that is a little different than what you normally would get here on the island. We got greens, and we got peach cobblers and and stuff that not normally you would expect coming here, but it's doing very well. I feel blessed to be here and excited. But I'm even more excited about what I heard today. And me being a community person, I want to know how can I be down, Like I said, we have a program here that we call Jonathan Cares, which is a giveaway program that we're reaching out and providing up to 50 to 80 meals 2 times a week for free hot meals to the community. And please lean on me and utilize what I have to be able to give back, to be able to share, because I feel community, what that means is family. And I want to be a part of this family. I want to be a part of the fabric. I might say I'm the only Black restaurant in Alameda, but I want to be one that represents the whole community, everybody, because it takes everybody to make it. And I just want to share this. I'm proud of Alameda. Ain't no perfect Alameda. Ain't no perfect nowhere. I'm from Chicago. But at the end of the day, just to know that you're trying and they're reaching out to allow a new program that's focusing on color, you gotta give them an amen for that and say what's up on that, because at the end of the day, it's a lot of people talk the talk but don't do the walk. I'm a Chicago cat. I'm real with it. So at the end of the day, I want to say thank you for Miss Robbie for allowing me this opportunity to share. Chris 100, all the people on the panel. Let's keep this going. When you punch the ticket, making sure that Jonathan Sandwich House is on that train, because we want to be a part of whatever we can do to be a blessing to this community. Thanks again for this time to share.
Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you and welcome. You are much needed here on the island. Just your generosity and your experience, and just being able to be a businessman in this time. As I know, when I met you, I think COVID had just started 3 weeks prior before you opened, or you opened right before COVID, and so
it hit.
It was funny, whoa! Man. So we really went out. So was telling everyone.
Boom, it hit.
Yeah, and the fact that you've persevered through it, and every time I go there, you're busy, and y'all, the greens are on hit. the greens are big.
All compliments to me, and I'm the cook. I'm cooking them greens, so thank you.
Yeah, they're really good.
My
so
wife's recipe, but I'm here, so I'm doing it.
And everyone on this call, please go visit that store. Spread the word. We need him to sustain in Alameda. It is a beginning.
Yeah, we need you. We definitely need you. It's hard, and we love our staff. And even if it comes for us paying out of our pocket, we ain't going nowhere. We just want to be here because we're here and we want to put our roots here, and we appreciate it. We got a great landlord, and we got a great community, and we ain't going nowhere. If you guys will have us and allow us to shine, we will continue to shine. Thanks again for
Thank you so much.
this opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing I want to introduce is my daughter and his twin girls were in preschool together. So I've known this amazing gentleman for quite a while. Our girls are in 5th grade now. And when I thought about this topic, and I thought about, a father, a Black father that's active, that's known in the community, that I know to really have his daughters first in his heart. And that is an example for all parents, and during this time, even when we meet, his girls are there, you know what I mean? But he's got his eye on them, although he has, other things going on. And what really impressed me, why I wanted him to be a part of this, of course, father and an activist for social justice, of course, but because he actually penned a book with his wife. And it's an amazing book that I want to give him an opportunity to speak on. I just want to shout out to Sarah Stone for purchasing this book for the 3rd grade curriculum this year. And so that is huge. That is huge for our district. And so I just want to give a shout out to an amazing man, example, Mr. John Castleberry.
Well, thank you, Robbie, for that. That was quite an introduction, and I'll accept that. Thank you so much. But before I say anything, I just really want to thank you, Robbie. I want to thank the district and Sarah Stone, for coordinating this event. I mean, right now my heart is so full. And Chris, I please make sure you get my number, or I get your number, because I really want us to have a sit down and talk with you. Because you are definitely speaking my language. You're speaking my heart right now. And I love you right now. I'm telling you. And if you like this hat, you can have it, because my hat is off to you. I promise you. You know what I'm saying? There's the work that I'm here as a Black man, a father, an author, an artist, a collaborator, a student, I'm going to try to contradict you just a little bit on something, because you say the cavalry's not coming, but I'm looking at this panel and I'm feeling like the cavalry has arrived, because this just fills my heart to hear the words you're saying, because I've been through this. I'm a child of the '60s, so I've been through these moments of outrage and these moments of revolution, and this time I'm just hoping it sustains, and I'm so grateful that the Pasquale and Sarah Stone have come into this district, and that they are intentioning an anti-racist curriculum, that they are intentioning, that they are focused on doing this work, and because and you even mentioned earlier, the tide raises all boats. You know, if and it's a part of what you said in the beginning. If you center the people that are in the outlying communities, you are going to help everybody. Anything that helps anybody helps everybody if it's done through this lens of equity and growth and healing. And what we need very much right now is healing. You know, first of all, I want to say, you know, the work the Keymakers is doing is so critical. It is an issue that requires that direct action of focus. The way our Black boys and young men see themselves. You know, my favorite quote is by Frederick Douglass. You know, it is easier to build a strong child than to repair a broken man. And, you know, so what we're doing with this, with our book project, and it's not just a book. You know, it's a project that has a large scope. The book is just the first manifestation of it. What we're doing is in direct alignment, in as much as it's to provide windows and mirrors to all children. We're building a network of bridges for children. We want to offset the onslaught of biased programming that the system of white supremacy has woven throughout all of American education, literature, language, and society. This is, you know, when children are supported in their natural view of how diversity is naturally occurring, you know, they grow up with a balanced reality-based view of their peers that don't look like them. And so this is the approach that this book has taken from inception, is that, you know, that racism is not a Black issue. It's not just a Black issue. It's a human issue. And that's why this recent, you know, allyship is a new thing. That's kind of, or it's a resurgence on a level that we haven't really seen before in America. And so, and my view is that we need to, the work that you're doing, Chris and Michael, and the work that you and Marquita and Michaela, the work that you are all doing is so important. Because how young Black men and boys see themselves is critical. It's critical. I also believe and agree that the way their white peers as children see them is what helps to raise them up. So when we were at the inception of this book, the idea was that, you know, there isn't enough diverse literature, and that some of the literature that is diverse is still, in a sense, segregated. It wasn't addressing the minds of all of the children. And so we created a book that it's a diverse group of characters. It's all of the children, you know. And so there's African American, there's Native, there's Asian, you know, there's a Puerto Rican character, and there's an Irish character. And so it's about community building. It's about inclusion. It's about these children seeing the strengths in each other and seeing humanity in each other. And it's centered on telling the children that all of your talents and toolboxes are different, but they're all necessary if you're going to build a society. If you're going to build community, like the fact that you're different only strengthens me, and that we embrace each other's similarities, but that we celebrate each other's differences. You know, there used to be, people would say, oh, I'm colorblind, but that's problematic, because, like, how do you dress yourself? You know, how do you know when to stop at the intersection? You're not colorblind. And the problem with all of that is that there's this default setting for beauty. There's this default setting in the language and in the media of how children are programmed. Not just the fact that it erodes the self-esteem of children of color, but that it gives other children this skewed perspective that their peers that don't look like them aren't as talented or they're as brilliant as them, and are not a resource for them in order to help build the community together. And this is what we're trying to do, and this is what we hope to do. And I'm so grateful that we were able to get this, through the help of Sarah Stone, into the curriculum for third grade this year. So, you know, this is I'm just so honored to be here. And so thank you so much, Robbie. You know, and Chris, you really are filling my heart with what the words that you're saying in this program, and I want to be involved in this program so much. So thank you so much. And this is the book that we have, and I know the camera's not really doing it much justice, but so thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you guys both. So this has been a powerful discussion. Like John just said, my heart is filled. Anyone that knows me and anything about me knows that you spoke my language. This program speaks my language. Black Achievers Alliance is fully in this partnership. And saying that, I do want to say, with this work, a couple of questions I was still getting as well was repeated about the community. And what I'm going to do a call in, Chris. I do that same thing. I call folks in. I call you in to go ahead and put in chat if you're interested in being a part of Black Achievers Alliance, to be a part of this conversation and part of the work to really get this out into the community. Because it is going to take community to make this happen. Both sides of the island, that unity thing. And so, if Sarah, if you can put it in chat, then we'll be sure to get in contact with you if you want to be a part of this for Black Achievers Alliance. We guys want to close with two things we have upcoming. We have, I'm super excited, and Sarah, Henry, I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. Could you stand up and show the T-shirt logo? We've had our Black Achievers logo and T-shirt for 6 years now. 6 years now. And what I start seeing, I'm calling folks in, and with this movement, folks are really showing up. So I worked with Chris Tam here in Island, cool dude, good living store over on, Park Alameda Avenue. And we designed this shirt, and it's our Ally T-shirt. So if you see, it's on a black shirt, and the first square, the first section is white. And that is encompassing the people that is going to stand behind us. You guys are supporting the black, which is us as the people. You're there with us, the blood, sweat, and tears, and will support our growth with the green. And so I'm super fired up. I haven't seen an Ally T-shirt, and when Chris showed me, I was like, this tells the story. And so, really the big push, what I would like to see is we do have the regular T-shirts as well for the black movement, for the black colors. But I would love both groups as a united front to purchase these. We're not making any money on it. It's basically to get the message out. It's for branding. As we're doing this move and having this conversation across town, it will promote unity, which is going to be very important. And I think it's time. I think it'd be great for kids to start seeing that, because youth have been hearing about this, especially my high school students. I was at the other day at In-N-Out. Hi, Miss Robbie. It was one of my students I had when he was in first grade. I'm like, whoa, I felt very old, but I was very proud that he was working and doing online classes. And it trips me out sometimes. I've been doing this a while here, but it's so beautiful to see them and see the seeds, of these youth. A lot of times people think the West End youth, have little promise. And I'm here to tell you they have heart and they have spirit. And all they need is something like this is for, like you guys have said, and I tell my students every single day, even when I have to come down hard on them, because, sometimes I have to be that role because they may not be getting that accountability elsewhere. I always am what I love you and I believe in you. And
Rob,
no matter.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I'm realizing I didn't even tell you the name of the book. So for people that are listening, the name of it's The Courageous Adventures of the Conscious Kids, and it's the first book in the series. So you can go to www.freeplanetpress.com and you can learn more about the book.
Yeah, I think I saw that typed in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know if it went. I don't think it went to everybody. So
okay, thank you for that. Then thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you guys, please purchase that book for the youth. Yes, it's going to be taught for third grade, but it's a book that can reach all youth, parents in general, just to be able to start having that kind of conversation with your children, with the youth. And so to say that, so we have we're recruiting for Black Achievers Alliance. We also have with this shirt is what I was going to say. And I hope she's still on here. And I'm probably going to be in trouble for this, but I'm going to kind of put her on the spot because my memory is not always the best. But Cheryl, can you unmute Sarah here? Can you unmute Cheryl and Lawrence? I won't be in trouble. Cheryl and Lawrence.
Hi.
So this is my, we co-parent a daughter, a wonderful daughter. And one of the things that really inspired the shirt and really touched me, even though I've known her for 20 years, I guess, was her heart to really want to do something as an ally and as a parent of a Black child. And it was important for her to do this. And so we have a art, can you explain a little bit, what would you call it, Sherilyn?
The mural project?
Yeah.
So it started back when we at first all started seeing the Black Lives Matters murals painted on a variety of cities in Oakland and, Washington, D.C., etc. I posted on Alameda Peeps, hey, is anybody going to do this? And I got about 300 people that were all interested in participating, but we didn't really have any leaders in the project. So I went to Robbie, of course. And she went to the youth of Alameda Point Collaborative, and then also through Art Push, Jessica Warren and Wesley Warren. We hooked up with them. They found us an artist, Malik Seneferu, and so we are in the process of making this happen, collaborating, making this happen. And that's basically what we're doing.
Exactly. And what the youth came up, and I hope Mr. E is still on the line because it is his youth group that he is leading in this conversation and the design, because it's going to be on West Midway at APC, right in front of them where the playground is. There's a lot of stuff that happens there, but what they want the message to be was Black unity. Because a lot of times, even in the Black communities, there is no community, there's division. And so for them and the youth there, they wanted to do Black unity, to say we need to unite together for strength in numbers. So super proud of them. We had the date of September 26th. We had some stuff, so it'll be pushed out, but I'll confirm the date. But if you could pencil that in now, we're going to look for people to come. It's going to be on that street, Black unity. So painters, Malik is very skilled at this. He'll organize it with the youth. And so I just want to put that out into the community, because that was, and I want to call it what it was, that was allies having the heart and the spirit to speak up, step forward. And yes, Sherilyn was like, I'm not a leader. I said, but wait, you can give the information. You get the partner though. I don't want just more work on me. I want partnerships and collaborations. And I think that's how we unite the island. And so we got that going on. And then next month in close, Kate Schatz and Kate Casal, two incredible allies, accomplices that are going to start a series on, I know with John Jones III last month, we talked about what an ally is. We're going to get more in depth and break it down a little bit more, because one of the things that's becoming more and more in light, especially in Alameda, is, an ally takes more than just wearing a t-shirt or putting a sign in your window or showing up to a march and saying Black Lives Matter, okay? An ally is someone that's creating safe space for us to do what we're doing here and to allow people of color, BIPOC people, to have a space of how they're going to do their process and this new way of living. Don't give space. Don't give this freedom of speech and then take it back the next week. So it is essential that we have this kind of dialogue next month. Kate Casal, Kate Schatz, if you know, in Alameda, Kate Schatz, amazing. She was on Conan O'Brien and he called her in to call him on his whiteness. It was amazing. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It was really good. But I trust these two women and they really get it. There's others now, and yes, they get it. But for teaching this particular topic, I trust them too. So please look for the date for September. Spread the word. I want to see this thing filled, because there's a lot, we have a lot of folks in the island that are not Black or BIPOC. And we want to call you in to be a part of this fight and part of this this movement. So with saying all that, I want to thank once again Chris and his team. I'm super excited what's going to be coming. Super excited about the energy and the fire I feel. I just know there's going to be nothing but greatness. And as usual, Sarah Stone, thank you for your leadership as the Chief Academic Officer. I tell you all the time, we have been waiting for you, and I thank you for your heart and your spirit. I mean, I love talking to you because we can just talk, and I don't have to put on a filter. I'm talking to a district person. I can just talk because I'm very transparent. I usually speak truth. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but I stand behind that, And so I welcome you as, I'm gonna say a comrade. I'm not even gonna call you an ally. I'm gonna call you a comrade because you're doing the good fight. And thank you for bringing John's book into the school system, where that has been something we have been trying to do, whether it be LGBTQ curriculum or Black curriculum. You made it happen very quickly, and so kudos to that. And Sarah Henry, you know you're my buku. You saved me many a days. People just don't know, and so I always think for you. And then I'm gonna go across the top. Mia Banta, you know how much I respect the work that you do, because you don't just do the talk, you do the walk. I tell you to be at base at the APC, you're there knocking on the doors with me. That's what is needed. Right now in this crisis that we are in, a double crisis, COVID, but for me and the youth that I deal with, it is so much more than just COVID. It's security. It's being safe. I didn't have the privilege of not seeing my youth on a daily. I just couldn't do that. I have to see them. And that's what we need. We need people that are willing to go on the ground. There's social distances you can do, but for a lot of these families, they don't have this technology that we have. They don't know to go on any page and go find this kind of conversation. So I step off the stairs and I say, look, this is what's happening, on the ground. It has to be on the ground. So I appreciate folks that I've mentioned, and Susan Davis, we've been doing this work a long time together. So always good to see you in there. And I can go on and just looking at the faces. But I feel so empowered today. I really do. And for a long time, it seemed so like I was talking to a brick wall. The few people that come every now and then, we're talking to a brick wall. And finally, I feel like it's a conversation. And that to me makes me very happy. So on that, I'm going to let us all go and enjoy the rest of our Saturday. Kudos to everyone. I say Ashe Aho in honor of my people. I am 3/4 Native American Indigenous and 1/4 from Benin, Africa. So I say Ashe Aho, honoring my ancestors in this work. I am guided by them to do this work. And so I'm not easily bought. I go from heart and spirit. And so, yes, Chris, I can't wait to talk to you, my brother. All right. But you guys, all of you, thank you for being here, and see you next month. Please spread the word. Again, if you want to join Black Achievers Alliance to continue this conversation, to continue this movement, we're not stopping. Nothing's going to stop us, because you know what? We're trying to save lives. And I say that, and I mean that. On this island, and I'm going to say it because I have to say I've been looking at it for too long. On this island, if you do not live on the West End, or if you do not go visit, or if I meet one more person on this island that says, what's APC? It's been there 20 years. Folks don't know about it. That is a shame. We're a small enough island that we need to be taking care of each other. I don't care what shade you are. I guess be in trouble sometimes, but I really don't care what shade you are, as long as your heart and spirit is in movement for good and good of all people. Thank you very much. Ashe. Sarah, you want to close us out?
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Stone. Bye, everybody.
Just
Thanks.
a deep appreciation, and thank you, President Bonta, Pasquale, and Kirsten Zazo is on the line too, and I just want to highlight and appreciate the hard work that she did prior to make things like this start to happen, and so I just really want to shout out to her.